who's done all our logistical support. Oh, we're live. Kathleen, who's done all our logistical support, is here with me, and Alexina, who's joined us on the support team. We're all here in our office on a Saturday morning. They're building a yoga studio apparently downstairs from our office, so you might hear some construction equipment. They seem to have knocked off for lunch, so maybe you won't. But I'm Tanya Baker, and I'm the Director of National Programs at the National Writing Project, which means I have the very fortunate job of meeting really amazing teachers who work all over the United States and in all kinds of schools, and being able to work with them on projects like this one and many others. And I feel like the luckiest person in the world to have this job. We get to spend Saturdays meeting people like you. It's awesome. And also to work closely with people like Sarah and Amy, who are going to introduce themselves to you, who are on the leadership team for Assignments Matter. So Sarah, you want to go ahead and say hello?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Woodard, and I'm coming to you from Denver, Colorado. I'm a co-director of our Denver Writing Project site. And I also teach high school English language arts and in the Denver public schools at a priority turnaround high school. And I have been working with Literacy Design Collaborative work with the National Writing Project since about 2011. So a full, several years actually. That's it.
Thanks, Sarah. And Amy?
I'm Amy Vujaklija, and I am in Brandenburg, outside of Louisville, and part of the Louisville Writing Project. And I teach juniors and seniors English, and I've taught 8th grade language arts for about 10 years. I've been involved with the National Writing Project for a few years now, working with the Literacy Design Collaborative. And just really excited to be part of this work today.
Excellent. And we got a really great introduction to the people who are there with you in the room. But we are really hoping to hear from you about your work today, your impressions of the tools or the processes or your work together, anything that you'd like to tell us about what's going on there in Minnesota.
Anybody?
Dan seemed to have a lot to say earlier. So.
Well, actually, we ran into a very interesting situation with Dan's writing assignment because Minnesota is Common Core Plus. So our English language art standards include some that go above and beyond the Common Core standards, and that was the writing assignment he chose to work with. So it didn't fit into the template because the Common Core doesn't carry standards that work with narrative in that way. And so he actually started working on designing a template for that type of assignment, which might be really interesting for teachers here in Minnesota but might not apply anywhere else.
Well, I, for one, am very interested. I think LDC really decided at a certain point to put their attention toward information and argument writing. They haven't done a lot of revision of the narrative tasks that they do have, and I'm really curious about what people are doing with narrative. I'm doing a couple different projects that are looking closely at narrative, so I, for one, am really excited and interested about that.
And so am I.
Was it Dan? It's Dan's project?
Yes.
Where's Dan?
I'm over here.
Hi, Dan.
Hi.
Are you going to post that writing task in our Google Plus community?
Yeah, I'm going to. We
Great.
had a discussion about it. Kind of found that with narrative, one of the reasons I think that a lot of people avoid narrative with these kinds of discussions is because it gets back to the, well, is this just good writing? Is the teacher's bias as to whether or not they think it's good writing? Whereas if you're making an argument, it's pretty obvious either you did or did not do that. Writing a good story looks a little different. So I think some of the phrases and terms you might use to do this might seem more subjective, and that's kind of why might have come across as part of a problem. But that was kind of the nice thing with this tool is that we sat down, we looked at this, and then we kind of went through some of the checklist to see the jurying process, what was missing or what could be clarified. And again, it just comes back to like choosing your words very carefully and what you want to get students to do and how you want it to look when it's done. And I think that's part of why this was so valuable, is because then not only do I know how to put this together, but then I can use it to show other people, and they can say, well, no, this isn't going to work, or this is too vague, or this is maybe too narrow in scope, or whatever it might be. So I thought that was kind of very useful in this for this kind of project.
Yeah.
Like that.
We spent a lot of time working on the assignment planning template and working and filling our assignments out in that. And so that's, I don't know if you can see that up on Dan's computer, but that's the part of the process that he was really working through today.
That's excellent. That's exciting. All right. Well, that was an exciting update. So what else have you got to tell us?
I like the assignments planning guide. I think it's going to be very purposeful with our teachers that I'll be working with, because I work with English teachers, and we're looking forward, I am looking forward to working with them with this template. So I think it's exciting.
Excellent.
We've talked ourselves out quite a bit today, I think, because they were not this quiet at any other part.
That's totally understandable. Plus, what we keep finding is we dip in at a moment that we planned, which makes sense, but now you're in some place where people are trying to do their work, or they were in the middle of a problem, and you said, hold on, let's go talk to these people who aren't even here. And they're like, Mom, we got to get back to work. Amy and Sarah have a lot of experience in NWP work and in working with LDC as well. And so if you have any questions that you'd like to ask them about their experience or about their work, they'd love to also answer any questions if you have any.
I do want to comment on Dan's insight is that this planning tool and this peer review process is really valuable regardless of what discipline you're writing in, what kind of task you're creating for students. It can really be valuable just to have those conversations, and sometimes they're tough conversations when you're trying to fit certain pieces into a certain task. But like you've seen, just having a discussion can be quite valuable in just being together in that community.
That's great. Do you guys have any other comments about any of the work we did today, or using the template or the planning or the jurying rubric?
So I thought it was really powerful that you mentioned that you used the jurying rubric to kind of, question yourself about the task, and maybe, work on making sure that the task is really intentional in terms of what you want students to do. And I've been part of jurying work for almost a year now with Literacy Design Collaborative, and it was a pretty intensive training, and then lots of calibration work with Literacy Design Collaborative jurors across the nation. And so I just think it's really important that you are using the jurying rubric, and any of you who might become more interested in this work in the future, I would encourage you to maybe look at the Literacy Design Collaborative tools. You might even decide that you want to take this task that you're working on and also maybe build out a module. There are lots of resources in Literacy Design Collaborative for that on their website. And any of us, in terms of the leadership team, would be happy to be resources for you if you're interested in doing that work as well. But one of the benefits of taking a task and then building out an instructional plan and module is that you can then submit the module and some student work to the National Literacy Design Collaborative community, and you can get feedback from people across the nation, and it's really amazing. So I would encourage you that if that's something that you're interested in doing, to seek out more information about that as well.
Thanks, Sarah. That was good information. In fact, none of the participants here had heard of Literacy Design Collaborative before. I had never heard of it until I came to Washington, D.C. for the training. Well, I had looked at it before we applied for the grant, but before the grant opportunity, it's not something that is, common or commonly used in this area. So it was new to all of us, and it's kind of interesting to see where we can go with that as well.
Great, yeah, and even just exploring the website a little bit, you'll be able to take a look at other tasks and modules, and there's just a lot of information. But as writing project teachers, we put our own spin on it as well. And one of the things that we've talked a lot about over the course of this work the last several years is that as writing project teachers, we're also the focus of our work, the heart of our work, is also teaching the writing and teaching the writer. And so that's something that I know that we don't want to lose sight of in all of this as well.
I know. I had two things I wanted to say. One was, Sarah, nothing could really make more visible NWP people taking work and putting their own spin on it than Dan saying, oh yeah, nothing, my work doesn't fit in any of these templates, so I'm going to do my own work, and then I'm going to figure out how to adjust the template bank so other people can do this work too. That's awesome. And there's probably even more things like that have happened there today, but that was a really great example. I also want to say about Literacy Design Collaborative that they are their own separate education nonprofit doing a particular area of work, but they are like-minded in being very interested in having teachers in control of their own classrooms and curriculum and pedagogy, and also in being very interested in iteration and change and development and making things better. So it's great that you all have sort of had an opportunity to maybe be some of the first people in Minnesota to be looking at the LDC work, and I'm sure if there's any feedback that you want to give them, you can reach out to them through their website, or also through me or Sarah, who are both pretty connected to people there. But I'm sure they would love to hear about your experiences of the LDC tools. So feel free to let them know what you think.
Well, we like making history here in Cloquet, so that's awesome.
Excellent.
And actually, I was going to mention, Tanya, two of us in this room are Minnesota Writing Project TCs. I am, and so is Becca. Becca, can you wave at the camera? Do you see Becca?
Yes.
Becca. And the rest were kind of hoping to interest in participating in a writing institute sometime. I've given them some information about Minnesota Writing Project, which is our official writing project, and then the University of Minnesota Duluth sometimes does a shoot-off with a one-week seminar. So hopefully we're working on that here. But we really don't know a lot about National Writing Project. So can you talk about the National Writing Project for us a little bit?
Yes. So, and I often talk about the National Writing Project sort of autobiographically, because I came to my job at the National Writing Project by being a high school English teacher in Bangor, Maine. And I went to the Writing Project Summer Institute there, and that sort of changed the trajectory of my career, in that I had been teaching for about 5 years and loved kids. I loved teaching American literature. I wasn't that good at it. I tried really hard, but it's such a complex task, matching kids and reading and writing and learning how to teach people how to do things and how to learn. And I was really good-natured and hopeful, but not that great. And when I just happened to come into the writing project at a time that I was ripe for it and ready to learn with other people. And it has given me in my life the best colleagues, and the best learning opportunities of anything else I've ever done. So that's my experience, and Amy and Sarah could talk about their own experience too. But basically, whatever you've heard from Rene about the Minnesota Writing Project, imagine that around the country there are about 195 other places doing the same thing, finding really great teachers, bringing them together, giving them an opportunity to learn together and also to share what they already know together. So not just imagining, oh, here's all the stuff that as teachers you don't know, let us fill you up, but rather just recognizing, almost like talent scouts, there's a good teacher, come together with us so we can learn from each other's practice. And then though all of those 195 sites are connected by very, very loosely, but importantly by a national network. And as the director of national programs, basically I work to sort of garner and then manage grants that allow teachers from different writing project sites to come together to work together around things that they're interested in. So in this case, we have a grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation that allow us to have about 500 teachers today all around the country doing basically what you're doing, working together, creating tasks, and then uploading them to this community so we can see the work across the country. And that small piece of work, that small opportunity for teachers to see each other and see each other's practice and learn with each other was built on a base of a deeper, more intensive writing project experience that Sarah and Amy were part of that allowed teachers from over the course of 4 years, several writing projects, about 17 I think, but to dig more deeply into the literacy design collaborative tools to design teaching tasks, and then a teaching, what LDC calls a module, which is sort of a curriculum guide, a curriculum/pedagogical guide for 2 to 4 weeks of instruction to support students to be able to do that writing. Amy and Sarah and a number of other teachers in the National Writing Project got to work together over 3 years to work with those tools, come to understand them, share them with other teachers. And I think, as I've already said, one of the greatest parts about the National Writing Project and about my job in particular is that you know, teachers like yourselves in Minnesota with some great ideas and some great experience and knowledge get to work with teachers, say, in Kentucky and Colorado and New York, and see how things are the same, how things are different, and how we can share our best thinking about teaching and learning with each other. So that's kind of the picture of how the National Writing Project works, and we are always looking for teachers who are really interested in asking a lot of questions and sharing their best work, not hoarding it for themselves, and getting even better. So, Rene, from your own experience, did I leave anything out that you think I should say about the National Writing Project?
No, that sounded great. Do you guys have any questions? Say yes or no. Nod your heads. Let me know something. No, that sounds great. Actually, we do have one question. So we spent, and I'm probably topic shifting, jumping around here, but we've spent a lot of time today working on writing assignments that matter, making our writing assignments better. But there was some discussion and question about where can we find strategies and resources for teaching students to write. So these were working on our assignments, but in all of our classes we work with some students who really don't have the skills yet. So do you have advice on what we can do for that, or where we can go to find better resources for that?
Yes, Sarah and Amy, do you want to start?
She's putting you on the spot, girls.
Yeah. Well, I would say absolutely there are some, just as a starting place, there are some fantastic ideas on the Literacy Design Collaborative website in terms of if you take a look at some of the modules and see how teachers have created some instructional plans for teaching the writing. That's a starting place. You've posed a very big question,
Yes,
and this would be for many of us just our life's work, right? In terms of how do we teach writing, and I wish that I had like a quick down and dirty easy answer for it, but I think that there's so many amazing like professionals that I go to and I look to when I'm wanting to teach writing, and so some professional texts. And I don't know if this is the place for that or not, but some professional texts that jump out to me. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Penny Kittle's work in terms of, she has a book called Right Beside You. Is that the name of it? Yeah. Yeah, like Write, W-R-I-T-E, Beside You. And that's a book that has guided me a great deal in terms of my writing. I know that I tend to use a lot of mentor texts when I teach writing, and this is just something that's worked for me in terms of finding examples and if possible, professionally written examples of what I want my students to write and emulate, and then use a little bit of an inquiry-based method to have students look at these example, what we call mentor texts, and have them identify characteristics of their writing that maybe define the genre and make the writing an effective, strong piece of writing, and then it's something that students can emulate in their own writing. And that's one strategy that I find very, very helpful, and it's also a great way. I know that we're not all English teachers, but no matter what the discipline is, there's certain elements of grammar or discipline-specific writing that need to be taught and included in writing as well. And so I like that it can be a way to teach all different aspects of writing, including even process. So those are a couple of ideas. I mean, I have lists of texts that have guided me. If you'd like any of that, I can absolutely compile some things for you. I'm going to see what Amy has to say, and then we can go from there.
What I like to use and what's been helpful with a university teaching writing course that I teach at the University of Louisville is Daniel's and Daniel's written conversations. Actually, that's like the second part of the title. Guiding students K through 12 through, in any subject area, through conversations in which they write to each other, write in groups.
Amy?
Yes.
Can you get closer to your microphone?
Yes, it's been cutting out on me. Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, so Daniel's have a book with written conversations. That's been very helpful with guiding teachers through the practicalities of including more writing in the class. Amy Buckner has a great text with using multi-genre modes of writing. And it's just a matter of getting those students to write more, not necessarily to assess more. And sometimes that is a big problem, is that we feel like we have to assess everything they write, when writing more will lead to just improved writing skills in its own. But I can certainly, like Sarah said, compile a list of resources. And I've also looked at the Literacy Design Collaborative mini-tasks for a lot of guidance, too.
Those are great answers, and also we can't forget about our writing projects and doing an institute, or I know the Minnesota Writing Project does Saturday workshops in conjunction with the Minnesota Department of Education, too.
Yes, your summer institute would be a fabulous starting place.
And building on that, there's also the nwp.org website, which is actually a pretty dense resource collection. So sometimes it's hard to surface what you really need because there's so much there. And we are actually beginning to talk about a redesign for that, but it's some time off. But earlier today in another webinar, Sarah reminded us about a kind of seminal writing text called Because Writing Matters. And
that cut out on us. Can you say the title again?
yes. Yeah, I don't know why I'm getting an echo. Because Writing Matters. And she pointed to, I'd forgotten that this was even in there, even though that's a kind of touchstone text in our work. We come back to it often, but there's a great chart that just sort of lays out when writing is assigned versus when writing is taught, and it kind of gives us a basic framework for thinking about how do we teach students how to do something. A kind of classic writing project text that you can access on the website was produced by the New York City Writing Project 10 years ago. For the 30th anniversary of the Writing Project, it's called 30 Ideas That Work, and it's really a small book, like a small square book with one idea on each page, like this is how I get kids to do X, or this is how I teach kids how to do something. So that's a nice little book. Yeah, so those, I'll stop there. This is the kind of question I could, probably any of us who have some writing project experience, have a favorite or a thing that changed their life. So, but those are
a question came up earlier about the Assignments Matters book by, is it Doherty? And I have not read that book. How familiar or how similar is the processes we worked through today to what she does in that book, Assignments Matter? Have any of you read that one or gone through that book?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yes. I mean, it's quite similar. And maybe in her book, she fleshes it out, I would say, definitely just more thoroughly. And she is one of the authors of these tasks that the task bank that we're using to create the assignments, the assignment tasks through the Literacy Design Collaborative. So in one of the planning guide that you're using was, I think you all probably know, was taken from the Assignments Matter book. But it's just a more thorough, in-depth resource. I would recommend.
If we wanted to explore these ideas more, that would be a great resource to have our schools buy or to go out and purchase.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Do you have other questions?
No, I think they're turning shy and tired, I think.
Maybe they just want to get back to work or posting those tasks.
Yeah, we had a great lunch of chicken wild rice casserole, so a good Minnesota dish for the day. So it's probably starting to make them a little nappy, too.
I'm a little jealous of that chicken rice casserole. I think I have leftover salad in the refrigerator. But
Are you guys anything else on any end? Well, we were really excited to have you join us. I bet it's warmer wherever you are than here, although it's not too cold today.
Maybe not where Amy is. Definitely it's warmer where I am.
Okay.
I am really thankful for all the work you did today, but also for your taking some time to talk to us about it and to give us a little preview of what we're going to be able to see in the Google Plus community. We're really excited to see your work and talk and think about it with you.
Yay!
Yay! Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Shutting down.
Have a great day.
Alexina or Katie, if you're there, let's take us off the air.